Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host, Malik, and before we get into this, I just want to shout out Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. We'll talk more about them later on, but once again, shout out to Underdog Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty, because if you are a fan of keeping Ja Morant on the Grizzlies, yesterday was not a good day for you. A video comes out from Berlin, him and Vince Williams Jr. getting into a little argument. Now, I'm going to be honest, at first, when I first saw the video, because I didn't really look at it, I just glanced at it, read the caption. I'm like, it's probably just, regular back and forth in basketball. This wasn't your regular back and forth in basketball. I'm sorry. Like, I know people are going to be like, I know some people are like, oh, he can't show leadership and all this and that. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know. Like, I'm trying to find the tweet of the guy who usually he transcribes like the lip reading. I can't think of his name. Oh, here it is. So it says what Ja Morant really said to Vince Williams in practice. You can kind of read Ja's lips a little more. Vince, not so much. Ja proceeds to say, "I don't F with y'all. I'm with whatever." Vince says, "Let's go to the back." That's when Ja says, "Why? I'm right here." Vince once again says, "Let's go to the back." And then Ja says, "You've been here for 5 minutes. You're not like that." Now, I'm going to be honest. I did watch the clip. I could see him saying it. I can't lie. I could definitely see him saying that. And it's just not a good look. Not a good look, especially if you're one of the people that think the Grizzlies should keep Ja. I'm staying unbiased in all of this. I'm just saying, if that's the road that you on, it ain't looking good. And then it also comes out yesterday that Ja actually purchased a home, a $3.2 million home in Miami back in December. So, once again, not good, not great. So yeah, if you think the Grizzlies are going to keep Ja, it's not looking good. But like I said, nothing is confirmed. This is all speculation. I'm just here to bring y'all the updates because, like I said, right now, it ain't looking too good. And quite frankly, that was the last thing that probably could have happened for the Grizzlies. Now let's talk about some much anticipated injury updates. For some reason, we didn't get an update on Ty Jerome. I don't know why, but we did. But we're going to get into the good part of the injury updates. So Brandon Clark, it says the Grizzlies say he's progressing well in his rehab of a grade 2 right calf strain. He's expected to return to play in 4 to 6 weeks. Cool. Scottie Pippen Jr. progressing well in his recovery from a sesamoidectomy, I'm thinking that says, to address discomfort in his left great toe. He's expected to play in 4 to 6 weeks. Cool. We expected that. We expected Pippen to come around the All-Star break. We knew that. This, though, Zach Edey continues to recover from a stress reaction in his left ankle, initially diagnosed on December 11th. Based on a unanimous recommendation of consultant experts, Edey will continue on his current plan of offloading and rehabilitation with a reevaluation to follow in approximately 6 weeks. Geez, I can't even lie. I don't know how to feel about this. It's almost like depending on how the season goes, Edey might get shut down. Like, I did not expect that to say reevaluation in 6 weeks. If it had said expected to return to play like it did for Brandon Clark and Scottie Pippen Jr., I wouldn't be that upset. Reevaluation in 6 weeks. That means he's going to be out for probably another month and a half. That to me is insane. So if you do the math, Edey's not going to come back till like close to the end of the season. Because let's be real, 6 weeks. We're in the middle of January. You fast forward that time, we're going to be in March. Like, I say season ends in April, so look, I don't know. I really want us to move on from this training staff because they are doing something, and right now it's honestly malpractice. I'll be honest, it's malpractice, and I need us to move on from this training staff, the medical staff, get a whole new regime because no other team is dealing with it like the Grizzlies. And I find it crazy that we are the only team that deals with this. I really wish I could make this up. But that's all I got to say on that. Love to know y'all thoughts in the comments, even though I think we all universally had the same thought on the medical and training staff. So I'm going to leave that up to y'all. But real quick, I do want to talk about Underdog Fantasy like I did in the beginning of the video. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get on all the action. Playing on Underdog is very easy. You just pick one of your favorite players to go higher or lower on stats like points, rebounds, steals, and more. Get your picks right. You could win up to 5,000 times your cash. This week on Underdog, specifically today, I'm going to limit it to the Grizzlies and the Magic game. So right here, I have Paolo Banchero going. I think I got him going lower than 22.5. But at that same time, I have Jock Landale going higher on 6.5 rebounds. So once again, you download the Underdog app today. You use promo code BasketballFan to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. So once again, that's promo code BasketballFan. Underdog is a place where you make picks and you win money. Now for Player Spotlight, we're going to once again do Jaren Jackson Jr. Mostly because there's no telling who's going to play in what kind of game. So it's very, very hard to say at this rate. But I do want to talk about Jaren because he is the best person when it comes to playing on Underdog, especially this week with the Europe games. So if you look at his last 5 games, you look at Jaren. I know I talk a lot about Jaren, but we're going to talk about him in this aspect, mostly keeping it positive. So right here, I have him in the last 5 games, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and then OKC did pretty good, 23, 7, and 1. And then Wednesday, 19, 4, and 1, and then San Antonio, 21, 9, and 2, and then last week against the Lakers, 14, 3, and 1. So I would say if you're looking at it from this way, obviously Ja is out. I mean, I can pull up the injury report right here to let y'all know. Ja is out, Brandon Clark's out, Edie's out, and then you got Morant, you got Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr., the usuals, right? So once again, when you look at this, I would say I go higher on Jaren. Right now, I believe his projection is 19.5. I would go higher on Jaren because it is essentially, with a team like the Magic, I wouldn't say it's a lock, but I think he has a very good chance at getting 19.5 points. Now, with that being said, I'll be very careful on choosing him when it comes to 27.5 PRA, which is points, rebounds, and assists. Mostly because if it's not the rebounds, I wouldn't rely on Jaren to get it. Mostly because, like I said, in the last 5 games, Jaren has done fairly well. 5, 7, 4, 9, and 3. That's not bad. If you put the numbers together, I can do it real quick right here. That's about 5.6 rebounds a game in his last 5 games. So I would say for the rebounds, if you do bet points, rebounds, assists, rely heavily on the points and rebounds. Assists, not really good because he doesn't get over 2, which, I mean, he's a forward, so I don't really expect him to. So this 2.5 assist line, I'd be very cautious about that and I say go lower. When it comes to 3-pointers made, once again, that's a fairly different ball game, but I could see Jaren playing more to the perimeter tonight. Today. I would say go higher on 1.5 3-pointers made. And then obviously when it comes to things like that, I would not play him for a double-double. Obviously wouldn't play him for a triple-double. Now, one of the things that I think is a personal lock, and I mean a true personal lock, I would say go higher on Jaren for 5.5 first quarter points. I feel like that is an easy lock. Jaren does really good when it comes to the fact of, you know, getting started early because Jaren is mostly a first half player. So I think as long as he stays out of foul trouble, 5.5 points on in the first quarter is a lock for me when it comes to Jaren. So I would say do that. But once again, you have plenty of options to choose from at Underdog. Once again, use promo code BasketballFan. Like I said, you play $5 and you get $75 back in bonus entries to use on other players or other games. Simple as that. So once again, download the Underdog app today and use promo code BasketballFan to get started and just have fun with it. Simple as that. Now let's get back into everything that we got going on here. When it comes to the Magic, I am going to come up with a hot take for this game because I really think there's two players to me that I would say are the determining factor in whether the Grizzlies actually come out with the win or not. I would say defensively, I would put my main focus. So one thing about it, the Grizz are kind of in luck because the Magic will be without Jalen Suggs. The Magic are a team. They can move fast pace. They can move slow pace as well. Not the greatest defensive team, but pretty good as well. They're kind of better than the Grizzlies. I would say the main players that I would watch out for, genuinely speaking, I would say Anthony Black. Anthony Black is a guy I would watch out for. I believe Franz Wagner is active, so I would say him as well. And I'll make it three. I'll make it three because I completely forgot that Franz Wagner is active. So I would say Anthony Black, Franz Wagner, and Desmond Bane. The reason I didn't say Paulo Banchero is because I think if the Grizzlies want to win this game, I'd make Paulo Banchero shoot. I'll be honest. I will make Paulo Banchero shoot. He's not the greatest three-point shooter. And I think with Franz back, they're going to rely more so on him to do majority of the scoring. He's all right. He's not the greatest shooter, which is why I say I would take my chances with Paulo Banchero shooting the three. Simple as that. I would take my chances. Now, when it comes for the other guys, look, prepare yourself. Because, look, Paulo Banchero is only 25% from three. So if you can find a way to keep him on the perimeter and don't let him get his shot towards the paint or the mid-range, you in for a good one. Another key in this game, the rebounds. Grizzlies do good on the rebounds. They keep those up. Obviously, you really have to emphasize the offensive rebounds because you don't want to give a team like this second chance points. They assist the ball pretty good, and they've gotten better when it comes to shooting the ball. So you really don't want to give this team second chance points, any chance to kind of catch you lacking and things of that nature. Other than that, I would say you need a great game from Cam Spencer, Cedric Alvin, and Santi Aldama. I would love a good game from Jaren as well, but I think those are the three main people that I would look out for to have a good game, especially if you're trying to get the win, is Cam Spencer, Santi Aldama, and Cedric Alvin. Simple as that. So those are my keys to a Grizzlies win today. Now let's talk about some of y'all's comments from the last video because, once again, y'all are showing so much love to the channel. We are currently at 748,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate y'all for the love and support. So I do want to get through some of y'all's comments. Once again, I cannot get through all of them because obviously the support has grown. But yeah, let's have some thoughts. This comment says, beat writers and know-it-alls have been trying to get Ja away from Memphis for a long time. They believe he should be on a team that's got a higher national spotlight. That is very true. All this Ja clearly wants to go. All this job clearly wants to go to Miami or it's a front runner. This is all to try to get teams to bite on making the trades. That if they see the read, the team leaves. They believe that all the bloggers and people who watch independent reports and national reports will all be like, yeah, that's a good idea. I think Josh should stay, but I can't imagine he stays too much longer because Coward is going to force him out. I don't necessarily think Coward's going to force him out. Now, if they change the direction of the team, that's a different discussion, but I don't think we're at a point where Cedric Coward is just going to force him out as a rookie. He's not averaging 25 or 30, so I can't really say that. Not because Coward has the power, but because Coward is coming too good, and if he's a starter and a starting point guard, what does that put Ja? Last, I would say if Ja is moved, I think you keep Jaren. Well, for one, I don't think Coward would play point guard, let alone be the starter. So I don't know how to feel about that. Now, like I said, if Coward does develop into a main scorer, then hey, they could look into a different direction. So I can definitely see that. Next comment says, I'm not saying that Ja wants to leave Memphis, but if he's traded, I believe Miami is where he would prefer to go. They really want him, and it's a team where he could fit in well. I appreciate everything he did for the Grizz, and I wish him the best in the future wherever he ends up. And that's the thing. Everybody's saying Miami's a good fit, but the thing is, it's like I mentioned in the last video, he's playing in the offense. And actually, I think it was one of the comments. He'd be going to an offense that he wanted to steer away from. It's kind of weird. That's why I'm kind of confused on how Miami is like the front runner in all this, because it's an offense that he wasn't a fan of. One of the offenses that really got Taylor Jenkins out of Memphis. So I'm really confused on that. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, if you want to argue better roster, then sure. Better coach, then sure. I get that. Next comment says, I will say Zach did a great job drafting Cedric. Imagine if he's playing 35 minutes instead of 26. He'd be averaging around 16 points per game instead of 14. Honestly, I hate the fact that Thomas doesn't give guys like Cedric and Gigi more minutes. Gigi got 18 one game, and then the next game gets the next. He gets given like 10 minutes of playing time. That was one of the things that I said. That's one of the reasons why I said I'm very skeptical on Thomas Isolo, and I don't think he's the guy for the future. I would love for him to change my mind, but I really don't know because Gigi played really good against the Thunder. And the fact that he didn't play the final 3 minutes and then we ended up losing that game, that was very, 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 very bad on his part. And then against the Nets, he only gets like 10 minutes. That to me is just kind of wild. Now, as far as Cedric, like I said, I've given Kleiman his credit when it comes to drafting. Great drafting guy. But when it comes to sustaining the team, I don't know. But I do think Cedric Howard needs to be in a position where he's playing more than 26 minutes. I think 30 plus is perfect for him. Simple as that. Next comment says, Khalil Ware is the only player on the Heat that the Grizz can use. Why give up Ja for Hero? And you are wrong. Ware is definitely a starter and proved he is the best on the team. His stats are very close to Edie, and he is much better than Tripp. Don't want Hero, but him and Ware for Ja and Tripp in the first. It's perfect for the Grizz. Just trade Hero and the pick for a good point guard. Okay, I'm going to give my thoughts on Khalil Ware. I'm not saying I didn't say he was bad. I just didn't really see the hype around him. I know his potential, but from talking with the other Heat fans, they're very skeptical on him too. Now, granted, obviously you have Bam Adebayo, so it's understandable to be skeptical. So I'm going based off what other Heat fans have told me. If Khalil Ware is really like that, then sure. I've seen a few outbursts from him, so I know he can play up to that potential. Right now, I just don't know. Now, as far as your offer, Ja, Tripp for Hero and Khalil Ware, for one, I think salary-wise that wouldn't even work because, yeah, I don't even think that would work if I'm being honest. So you got to really add something. And plus, I think first of all, packaging John Tripp for Tyler Hero, I think you can get better than that if I'm being honest. I genuinely think so. So I don't know. Next comment says, if they give us a good offer, by all means, trade Vince. I like his game. He can play make and is an elite defender. I understand why good teams will want to trade for him. I like him build trade picks. I like him, but I trade picks over him. I'm not ready to move away from Wells, but he has been struggling. So, again, if they offer us something good, I probably would. He has the potential to average like 18 points per game while being a top-tier defender. All things true. Vince gives you a lot. That's why a lot of teams are going after him and making calls about him. May not be the most attention-seeking player, but he brings a lot of intangibles to the game, and he's very versatile. As far as Wells, I've already spoken about it. I think I'm not ready to pull the plug on him, but because it is only his second year, and I think we do have a bad habit of just giving up on guys too quickly. And I'm not just talking about Grizzlies fans. I'm talking about NBA fans in general. We expect guys to really just burst onto the scene and just come out of nowhere, guns blazing. I think, mostly because, we're so used to we got to a point where we're used to seeing rookies just come in and change franchises like that. But we have to remember that these guys are rookies, and we have to give them some grace. You cannot develop into your best version in 2 years. That's just very hard to do. So I'm giving Jalen Wells a little leeway. Now, if it keeps going, then by all means, pull the plug. This one, pretty lengthy one. So I'm going to try to get through all of this by summarizing it. Missed the last video, but hopefully you see this one. I did. Your logic about Jaren still doesn't make sense, so let's break it down. All right. Jaren is a two-way player, and that requires more energy. That's naturally going to lead to nights like he had offensively. He also failed to mention that the key block he made when we were down 2 points, that's a game-swinging play. Fair enough. Players like Butler and PG have been called inconsistent for the same reason. They're asked to carry a bigger load on both ends. Meanwhile, most of the players you keep naming are one-way players who don't have to spend that kind of energy defensively. How many times have we seen James Harden go 5 for 25, still win and be a negative defender, yet still impact the game? That's the point. Impact isn't only shooting splits. Jaren gets paid to impact the game on both ends. I'm going to stop this comment right here because I'm going to try to part it up. I will give credit where credit is due when it comes to Jaren. I never said that he wasn't a good two-way player. Never said that. I think for what you're giving Jaren, you need him to do more. And I got to be honest, the whole two-way require more energy thing, I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that because when you see a guy do what he does when he's on, like when he's really playing his game, it's hard for me to use the energy excuse because I seen the first. You understand? We watched the first half of the season. Jaren was looking like an All NBA player. I know he has that. He just needs to find it. So I don't really know what to say about that because I've seen Jaren do what he does and still impact the game on both ends. Now, the whole James Harden scenario, the whole example you brought up, the reason James Harden impacts the game is because, for one, he's a point guard. Point guards are going to impact the game no matter what. Two, he gets other people open. Look, back in Houston, when James Harden did have those games where he wasn't shooting good, guess what? They still double-teamed him. That's how good Harden truly was. They still double-teamed him. That's why Harden used to get 10, 15 assists a night. That's why he was a triple-double machine. Same thing with Russell Westbrook. So why can't Jaren do that with rebounds? That's my entire point of all of this. And I really think even then, Jaren can still impact the game offensively when it comes to assists. He just has to learn how to pass out of double teams in time and stop, dribbling into defenders. That's really my whole thing with Jaren on that first part of the comment. I'm going to read the rest, and I'm going to decipher everything, so hopefully we can come to a common ground. Let's not forget, Jaren came back early after missing the entire offseason with a foot injury, got hurt again, and is still playing. He's also adjusted to a new coach and new schemes. Don't think that affects the slow start around 18.5 points per game. That's not a slow start. I'm sorry. We're about to be at game 40. That's half the season. So this isn't a slow start. I'm trying. I'm really trying, but it's like we're in game 40. That's enough time to figure things out. He's only missed 2 games, so I don't know. You said so the logic doesn't add up. If he dominates one side of the ball, he's still doing his job. Luka basically plays one side of the ball, so what's the difference? The problem is Luka can give you 40, 45 points, but if he's not playing defense, the Lakers lose. Simple as that. The Lakers lose. And you want to know why they lose? Because the Lakers roster sucks. Now, is that Luka's fault? No. But the problem is Luka doesn't play defense. That's why you have a lot of Lakers fans, despite the shooting struggles from the entire team, they're calling out Luka for being lazy. Simple as that. Jared's value is that even when the offense is off, he can still give you elite defense, rim protection, and foul pressure. Yeah, he can. The problem is Jaren gets into foul trouble. So how can he impact the game defensively if he's not on the court? Simple as that. We kind of get what I'm getting at. I get what you're saying, but he also still has problems in certain areas that affect the game. Also, your take about Jaren not getting better doesn't make sense either. 4 years ago, the Grizzlies weren't running offense through Jaren. They weren't playing through Ja. The only times Jaren got real reps as a focal point was when Ja didn't play. It's hard to improve as a number one option when the system isn't designed for you to be one. True. I will give you credit for that. I'll give you credit for that. I will give you all the credit for that. But at the same time, Jaren still gets his shots. They're not going in. And once again, it goes back to the point that I'm trying to make. Jaren isn't on the floor enough to truly impact the game. He has to learn how to control his fouls. I'll read the rest of this. It says that's part of why they moved on from Jonas and why Jaren shoots so many threes. His role was shaped around space and for Ja instead of developing Jaren's full offensive package. That's why I say they hurt his development. Trust me, I really know basketball. You got to come better than that. Love that you engaged in the comments. So, you gave me a 2-parter. Also, what you failed to realize is that Jaren's block numbers are down because he's guarding the perimeter more. His role has changed. Jaren and Mobley were the only 2 players to guard 900 plus possessions at both the post and on the perimeter. It tells you everything about his responsibility. So judging him strictly by block totals is lazy analysis. He's not camping in the paint anymore. He's switching, closing out, and defending guards and wings. That's harder, burns more energy, and naturally impacts block score stats like blocks. That's what being a true two-way player looks like. He's asked to erase mistakes at the rim. It's a problem on the perimeter. Most of the guys you compare him to only have to do one of those things. And they're still some of the most impactful players in the league. I never said you didn't know ball. I just know I have my thoughts about Jaren for a reason. Now, when it comes to the whole development thing, that just comes with having 2 really good players. We can say the same thing about OKC. Chet Holmgren would probably be on the Victor Wembanyama level if they didn't put all their trust in Shea and Jalen Williams. That just comes with the territory of having a duo. As far as the block numbers, I'll give you credit on that. That is lazy on my part. I'll give you credit on that. Jaren does Jaren does impact the game when he's on the floor. Keyword on the floor. So never said. Well, I probably did say, but my whole focal point is Jaren needs to stay on the floor to be impactful. He needs to learn how to play his game. The system this, the system that. Hey, right now, look, we're game 40. You got to figure it out. I'm sorry, I can't look at Jaren and be like, hey, man, 2 for 12. Sorry, man, you got it next time. No, we have to hold him accountable. If we don't, we get into a situation where all we do is just look at John and be like, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we know it's there. And then we see that kind of game from him like once every 5, So I hope we come to a common ground. You know what I'm saying? I really hope we do. But I'm going to wrap this one up because we're going pretty long on this one. So I really appreciate y'all for tuning in and tuning in on all the updates and things like that. If you like this video, if you still watch to this point, make sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you get notified when the next video comes out where we recap the first of 2 games in Europe against the Orlando Magic. And obviously anything regarding John Morant, Jaren Jackson Jr., Vince Williams Jr., or even Ty Jerome. Who knows? But like I said, I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to show us some love. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Peace.